story about how Wyatt figured out, or maybe decided, who his family was. In November of 2005, Al was a case manager at a company for adults with disabilities. He had the honor of being the case manager for a tiny 8-year-old named Wyatt. Oh my God, I'm just started. One day he called me in a bit of a panic and said, "I've been trying to get this kiddo an emergency placement all day, and it's not working out." Now, I need you to know that at the time, I had Connor, who was 3.5, and Aisling, who was 15 months old. But when a child needs a home, and you have a home, you bring that child home. So we did. For a 2-week emergency placement. Wyatt did not leave after 2 weeks. When Wyatt came to us, he was not independent in anything. He could not walk, stand, or feed himself. He had no method of communication and would cry when Al or myself stepped away from him. Wyatt was messy and sickly and did not enjoy holding things in his hands. I don't even think he owned shoes. I do not think Wyatt knew what he was getting into. He chose a BCBA and case manager as his new family. Even the children were dedicated. When I told toddler Connor that Wyatt couldn't walk, Connor said, "It's okay, I'll teach him." And he did. Over the next 8 years, Wyatt learned to feed himself, stand, walk, and communicate his needs. He would use his walker to get to the table if he was hungry or to get to the couch if he wanted to chill. He would also walk or crawl back to his bedroom when he was sick of all of us. Wyatt learned to climb into his chair, climb on and off the couch, and even use the bathroom. He was a hard worker. Wyatt also developed quite a flair for the sass. Although Wyatt could not communicate in words, he had a lot of sounds. Wyatt would yell at you if you were making him do something he didn't want to do, and he would yell loudly. I think if we could translate his yells, they would not have been G-rated. He was raised by me, after all. Wyatt was also a big giggler, although he would save it for special occasions. Hearing Wyatt belly laugh was a sight to behold. Wyatt's favorite phrases were "ma ma ma" and "da da da." While we can't be sure what they meant, we like to assume we know what it did. Wyatt was happy in his position as the third child to enter the family. Unfortunately for him, in 2008, Siobhan was born. And Wyatt was shocked that he was no longer the center of attention. He responded by kindly ripping out Aisling's hair at every opportunity. Eventually, Wyatt and Siobhan made their peace, and let's be honest, when has Aisling ever held a grudge? She and Wyatt became best friends and teamed up against Connor and Siobhan, who we affectionately call the Danger Twins. With our family, Wyatt also participated in many outings. When we took Wyatt in, a wise friend told us that she was worried about what we were taking on and urged us to consider that if we took Wyatt in, we needed to continue actively raising our children and just include Wyatt in all the things that we did. We took that lesson to heart. Wyatt had never left the house before, but with us he went everywhere. This even included Costco, which did not go well at first. Wyatt was an active member of his church and participated in the Christmas pageant multiple times. He participated in his parades in his small town. He was a spectator at soccer and baseball games. He even attended multiple semi-professional baseball games of the Vermont Lake Monsters. Wyatt also attended dance recitals. So many dance recitals. Wyatt was included with his classmates from the moment he arrived in Milton. Wyatt participated in school dances and field trips, including a field trip to Montreal. Wyatt had birthday parties where his entire class would show up. They would push his wheelchair and include him in ways I'll never forget. They did not mind that he was covered in cake and ice cream. He was their classmate. There were times when we would take the family on a walk somewhere and children would come up to Wyatt. I would have no idea who they were, but he knew them. Wyatt made connections everywhere. Wyatt went camping with us on numerous occasions and loved sitting in his chair by the fire. When he got older, he had his own personal tent and was happy on our camping trips. Until that one time when we all awoke and Wyatt was wide awake in a leaky tent. And we all agreed it was time for a camper. Wyatt was happy with that choice as well. Wyatt had a special stroller for hikes and a pull-behind bike stroller. He loved being outdoors. Wyatt even attended the Champlain Valley Fair and rode on carnival rides with his siblings. He loved the roller coaster. Somehow Wyatt always managed to go home with free carnival game prizes. A fact that made his 3 siblings really jealous. Wyatt could not eat solid food, but that did not stop him from being a food connoisseur. We blended food for him, and he even went with us to restaurants. Wyatt's favorite food was Mexican food, the spicier the better. He also loved sweet foods and would never turn down ice cream. In fact, I don't think Wyatt met a food he wouldn't eat. In our family, Wyatt was subjected to many shenanigans and learned to appreciate the loud musical efforts of his 3 siblings. Interestingly, this is also the same time he learned to remove his hearing aids. At our home in Vermont, we had an above-ground pool. In the summer, Wyatt could be found lounging in the pool, leaning back in his pool float with his legs crossed in front of him and his arms crossed behind his head. It was a rough life. In 2013, our family needed to separate. We were called to move to Massachusetts, and we entrusted our dear, dear Wyatt into the hands of another family. We said our tearful goodbyes, and we put Wyatt in the hands of a system we hoped would love and care for him as much as we did. Turns out Wyatt had other plans. In 2015, Wyatt turned 18, and we realized we needed to become his guardians. So we rallied the Frugalies and went to court. Imagine the 3 Frugalies and Wyatt sitting in a courtroom. It was a day to remember. In 2016, Wyatt became very sick. I traveled to Vermont and recognized we needed to get him back up with us again. Once he was strong enough, I packed him up and we drove to Massachusetts. We, with the support of Tufts Medical Center, got him strong and healthy and got him a spot at the Evergreen Center where he thrived until he turned 22. Now, fun fact. When you're the legal guardian of someone, it's a state guardianship, not federal. Essentially, I kidnapped Wyatt from Vermont. Didn't know. We had to go back to court again for Massachusetts guardianship. I opted not to bring the children this time. From 2018 through 2020, Wyatt was sick on and off, but he enjoyed his new life as an adult living with Encompass Human Services. Wyatt had friends and a community of caretakers who loved him. Wyatt spent time in the hospital and enjoyed the opportunity to hold his breath and bring medical staff running to his room with beeping alarms where he would exhale and laugh hysterically. He took advantage of being sick in bed at times and used his cute face to convince people that the only thing that would make him feel better was ice cream. We were happy to feed him. In 2020, with the COVID shutdowns, we weren't able to see Wyatt for about 6 months. Oddly enough, it was also the healthiest he's ever been. In December of 2022, Wyatt contracted the flu. He was the sickest he's ever been. From December of 2022 through last week, Wyatt fought harder than I've ever seen anyone fight. He endured medical changes and made his peace with them. Day after day, pieces of Wyatt's joy and freedom were removed or altered. Wyatt continued to greet each day happily. And even when Wyatt was ventilated, he found ways to hold his breath and get the alarms beeping and the nurses running in. Wyatt also scared a team of nurses when they learned the hard way that one of his tricks is sitting up in bed, holding his breath, and leaning over to the side. Yes, Wyatt fell out of bed that day. I could not help but laugh my way through the serious and apologetic phone calls with the team of people who called from Lowell General. Wyatt fought until he was all done fighting. He made it clear when he was done, and he did it on his terms. Quality of life is important, and Wyatt knew when his life didn't hold what he needed it to hold anymore. Wyatt spent his last moments the same way he spent his living moments, surrounded by those who loved him most, in a room full of laughter. Wyatt was an amazing soul, and our lives are better for having known him. I'm so fortunate to have been his chosen family, and will never forget the blessings he bestowed upon me and my children. Thank you, Wyatt.
I'm going to talk on behalf of myself and my sisters. Jesus Christ. I've never really considered myself a younger brother. In almost every sense of the word, I was the older brother. I was the first kid in the family, the first to go to college, the tallest, and in my mind, the one paving the way. But as I sat in Wyatt's hospital room, saying goodbye, I realized that Wyatt was the one paving the way for myself and my sisters. An older brother teaches. He taught me how to live without care. If Wyatt liked something, he would let you know. If he didn't like something, he would let you know. There was not an embarrassed bone in his body. Whether it was ice cream, a nice breeze on a beautiful sunny day, or a simple swing at the Science Museum, he would let you know what he liked. He taught me how to relax. Wyatt could certainly kick back. If it was on the couch or, as he most preferred, in the pool, Wyatt could relax anywhere. Wyatt taught me how to prank. If you knew Wyatt, you knew his breath holding trick. He would hold his breath long enough for his lips to turn blue and then exhale all at once and crack up. He scared his nurses plenty of times with this and gave my parents a few scares when he first entered our family. An older brother cares. Wyatt cared so deeply for our family. Though he couldn't say it with words, every look, every hand rub, and every vocalization were an effort to show us just how much he cared for and appreciated us. He cared for us in a way only an older brother could. He let us put his hair in weird hairstyles. He let us steal his toys. He always had the best ones. He let us joke with him, even when he was the butt of the joke. He let us pet his hair when his caretaker started cutting it really short and it was super soft. He held Siobhan so tenderly and carefully when she was born. He was the exemplification of an older brother's care. An older brother protects. In his own way, Wyatt protected us. He protected us from being too sad with his light and his laugh. He protected us from all the people who thought he couldn't do anything by doing everything they said he couldn't. And he protected us from being too scared when he got really sick. And finally, an older brother blesses the family with light, laughter, and love. Wyatt, from the moment he arrived in our house up in Vermont, was a beacon of light. He was full of smiles, laughs, and plenty of surprises. One time he surprised us and scared my parents by leaving his walker at the door to his room and walking to his bed so he could properly kick back. One thing about Wyatt, he was going to do things his way. He loved birthdays, he loved celebrations, he loved holidays. He just loved. But Wyatt was more than just our brother. He was a son, a student, a community member. Everyone whose life Wyatt entered was left a better person because of it. And that's what Wyatt did. He touched things and they turned to gold. Hearts have been touched, lives have been changed for the better, all because Wyatt decided to be himself. He was untouched by what others thought of him. In fact, I often thought he would do things out of spite. So it would only make sense that he would play up his beautiful personality if he thought people around him couldn't handle it. He changed my parents' life forever for the better. They got a bonus kid. They won't admit it, but he was always the favorite son. And I was just fine with that, and then I could get away with more than he could. They loved Wyatt as their own, and always taught me and my sisters to love him just the same. And because of that, Wyatt lived a beautiful life surrounded by people who loved him endlessly and unconditionally. His teachers always loved him. Though he was fantastic at giving them a hard time, his teachers were always thankful to have him in class. He was truly a pleasure to have in class, as they say. As I am now the only older brother, I will carry every one of Wyatt's beautiful characteristics with me always. I will do my best to teach, to care, to protect, and to bring light, laughter, and love to my family, my friends, and my loved ones, just as Wyatt taught me. Though I could never fill Wyatt's shoes, they're a little bit too small for me. I will do my best to walk this earth, exemplifying his spirit and his purpose. Thank you all for coming. Although we always knew how special Wyatt was, it's such a gift to see just how many people he really impacted. He was such a light, and he will live on in our memory forever.
This blows.
I don't know if anyone else has